Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Dens Park, where it finished Dundee 3, Celtic 3. Celtic took the lead through former Dundee captain Luke McCowan before Adewumi scored on a fast break. It was then 2-1 to Celtic. It was 1 each to Celtic, 1 each in the game at half time. It then went 2-1 to Celtic through Yang Hyun Jun, who scored his first goal of the season with a header. Then, about a minute later, straight from kick-off basically, Cameron Carter-Vickers scored an own goal. I think it came off of Mulligan's leg. Then Aaron Donnelly scored a header to make it 3-2 before Celtic were awarded a stoppage time penalty courtesy of Nicholas Kuhn's cross into the box, which was handled or judged to be handled by Mohamed Salah. Arne Engels stepped up and made no mistake from the spot. Tony, you were there, you watched the 90 plus 4 minutes. What did you make of that game?
It was a kind of game of two halves, wasn't it? Or certainly Celtic were bossed it for 41 minutes, and then Dundee got a lifeline with a quick counter-attacking goal. Cracking finish, great goal. Thought maybe Alistair Johnson could have did more to stop the finish, but no take away from the finish credit. But Luke McCowan gets off to a flyer. Adam, he does miss. It's now turning into be a critical moment in the game, Ryan. And Paulo Bernardo headed off the bar. A couple other chances as well, but Celtic were rampant, they're dominant, something like 82% possession they were enjoying. And then in the second half, they just fell away completely. That's as poor as I've seen Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty at the back. You know, when Cameron Carter-Vickers doesn't function, it affects others, and it certainly affected Trusty. And there's a meme, if you've seen it, Brendan Rodgers doesn't mince his words, does he?
No, words that we can't use. I know the watershed is past, but we won't repeat what Brendan Rodgers said. But I think you've all seen it probably on social media about what he said, particularly about certain players at that. I think it was the second goal. It was just weak. I'm not going to repeat the second part of it, but defensively weak.
Yeah, and he said that when he came in after the game, didn't he? He said that Celtic were defensively weak. Sorry about the noise, guys. They're clearing up when Dundee, as you can see, the game's finishing. They're all the staff are heading home doing various things, but we'll endeavour to keep going in the pod. But yeah, it's just disappointing, Ryan, because the manager also said he thought after they scored the first goal and when they made it 2-1 they would kick on, and it didn't happen. But you have to give credit to Dundee. That's back-to-back games against Rangers and Celtic, and they felt aggrieved at not winning both.
I think they can feel very aggrieved at not winning this game, to be honest with you, because it took a last-minute penalty from Arne Engels in order for Celtic to even get a point in this game. If Dundee, and this is just me bringing my personal opinion to the fore, if Dundee had won that game, I don't think there would have been too many people complaining, given the capitulation that Celtic had, particularly in the centre areas in the second half. And I'm not just talking centre-back, in which both Trusty and Carter-Vickers both looked very, very shaky. But I'm looking up front as well. I'm looking at my striker after 60 minutes. You know, that's 12 games in a row now where Ademida has not scored for Celtic. That's becoming a bit of a problem, and it costs you in games like these. I know that Celtic scored 3 goals. You know, they scored 2 from open play and 1 from the penalty spot. But your striker isn't scoring goals, and that's what you're going to be judged on as a striker. So the central areas, and Cal McGregor as well. I thought it was a very, very poor game from McGregor. He battled in the second half. He tried to get things going. I just think that number 6 position, you know, it might start to keep into domestic football what we're maybe seeing in the Champions League in that certain position. I just think that that's maybe somewhere in the medium to long term that Celtic should be looking to supplement.
Well, let's put it this way, Ryan. That's their last 3 away games, isn't it? Celtic have failed to take all. No, well, they took all.
3 out of 4.
3 out of 4, yeah. Dundee United, Rangers, and tonight. So 3 out of 4, yeah. So you don't want that to become a malaise, and you don't think that the points differential at the top of the table makes any difference. But you know, I don't know. Subconsciously, if it is seeping into the players' minds that even if they lose a game or drop points in a game, there's not too much damage done. But it shouldn't, and I would like to think it wouldn't, because they're too professional for that. But in terms of what you're talking about, the central areas, I did ask Brendan Rodgers about that. That was my question to Brendan Rodgers. 12 games without a goal, was it a concern? And he answered it. But you know, I think that Damas is a big moment in the game, Ryan. I don't know what he does to die off the ball, but for me, it looks as if he's looking for a tap in, and if he tap in, he should score. Well, from our vantage point, he should score. I have to also stress that from our vantage point in the stand at the very back, it's a restricted view. isn't it? So
Certainly is.
yeah, so I mean, I'll put that there. But to me, and I've only seen it in real time, so I've only seen a couple of instances back. But that seemed a big moment. Bernardo's header that smashes off the bar is a big moment because Celtic were rampant and dominant then and didn't capitalise on that.
Do you agree that if Celtic don't take these chances, and it very much happened tonight, if they don't take these chances, it buoys the other team and it thinking that we can still get from this game, even though Celtic were far ahead, even though it was only one goal, but they were playing far better football than the home side. The home side looked a bit spooked after the first 20 minutes. Luke McCowan was pulling the strings in the midfield and things were happening. But those missed chances, that brought them back into the game, and that's what happened.
The equaliser comes from a Celtic corner where Cameron Carter-Vickers gets his angles all wrong with his header. And from that moment, Dundee get the ball and they break on you at lightning speed and score. 41 minutes. The equaliser came out of nowhere. And so, and that gave Tony Docherty's team a lift. Team talks totally different than have a go because you can score. That's how they would have been saying. That's how easy it is to break them down. Simon Murray has given two USA international winners a torrid time. Simon Murray, he's a pest. You know, Cameron Carter doesn't trust to hate playing against pests, and he was a pest all night. And they had other players that were, Josh Mulligan had an excellent game, I thought, for Dundee. Aaron Donnelly, who scored the third goal, another one who caught the eye too, and obviously your striker who scored the first goal, who took it away on one from Burnley, whose name Oluwumi, sorry, yeah. So
19 years old,
yeah,
looks a hell of a talent for Dundee and Burnley respectively.
He was excellent. So you have to give credit to the opposition at times, who sensed that there was a bit of Celtic to reach. Won't come closer, but you have to say Brendan Rodgers was disappointed. He said defensively, yeah, they had to. Some players kind of stand up and I think it'd be stronger, be weak, and yeah. So they were the architects of their own downfall tonight, Ryan.
Do you think nerves came into it in the second half? Do you think they felt the nerves of I don't know, or was it just what's the word? Complacency came into their game, and for whatever reason, Carter Vickers, who is a beacon of strength at the back for Celtic, is the core of the Celtic. When you've got him and you've got Rusty, who's an influential player as well, who's important, getting it out from the back. All of a sudden, he felt like they could do something from the game. Those two players mixed with the effectiveness in the second half of the midfield, just the whole team basically in the second half, that would have given them more impetus to go on and try and win the game. A game that they probably should have won, if not for a penalty at the end.
Celtic lost their way and they lost their shape, and it became very ragged.
Discipline.
Didn't it? I don't so much discipline. When you lose your discipline,
tactical discipline, perhaps?
Well, I suppose tactical discipline, possibly, yeah, you would do that, but certainly lost their shape, and it was all ragged and scrappy. And as you say, Celtic throw on Engels and Kuhn in order to save the game. And Kuhn eventually hits the ball off Mohamed Salah's hand, and fine well what's going to happen when Arne Engels steps up. So he took it again with aplomb. That's a % penalty record that he got. But it shouldn't have come to that, Ryan. I'm looking at 82% possession in the first half. Boston, Dundee, and it all went pear-shaped in the blinking of an eye in the second half. And too many players, as you say, I don't know if they got spooked by that, but too many players just all of a sudden forgot that they had to go and win a football match.
Speaking about being spooked, I was worried that water was going to come into. I think we were going to be like Celtic's defence tonight, and a little bit spooked with the sprinkler coming into frame there. Let's talk about the positives in the game, because despite it's not a defeat, they managed to rescue a point thanks to a last-gasp penalty from Arne Engels, a really good penalty. As much as there was maybe a little bit of doubt in people's heads about the fact that he missed that first penalty last time, it was a pressure situation. It's not as if that was to seal the game in Dingwall. This was to just get a point in the game. Pressure sends Trevor Carson the wrong way. what a penalty by Celtic's record signing, and probably a message sent out, maybe an inadvertent message, right, I've been playing so well. Why am I on the bench? Why did I need to come on and rescue it for the rest of you? Is that maybe what's in his head, or is it more of a team game, would you say?
I think it's more of a team game. He did what he had to do. He was clinical, he was professional, and he was ice cool in that moment. I have to say, I thought the first goal was a thing of beauty. Absolute thing of beauty. The cross from Taylor is sumptuous, and the header's even better from Luke McCowan and on his old stomping ground. And my goodness, he buries it. And you're thinking after 5 minutes, they're on this, they're on it. And they were on it. They were on it for 41 minutes.
They're on it until they're not, and we've seen this a couple of times this season. That soft underbelly that Celtic have got, particularly defensively, they can push and push and push for 20, 30, 40 minutes, but they can leave themselves wide open. It's not an impenetrable defensive line, both in the full-back areas, which I thought lacking for both goals, for both outfield goals. For two of the three outfield goals, the other one coming from the set piece. Make up your own mind who's at fault for that one. It's a mess defensively, but the whole back line isn't absolved tonight. There was mistakes that were made. Too many mistakes to get on the night, really.
We were trying to accentuate some positives there, weren't we? So,
I'm gonna.
No, it's fine. I agree that, and I mentioned at the top.
For an optimist, I'm pretty pessimistic. Yeah.
But yeah, listen, I think the manager said as well, if you're a Celtic team and you score 3 goals away from home, you expect to win a football match.
Yes.
You know, so, 16 points ahead, Rangers, back to Rangers tomorrow to try and narrow back to 13, but it's just small things like that give Rangers possibly a fall level. Still a lot, but you don't want it to keep seeping in but we are mentioning the fact that it's 3 out of the last 4 games they've not
Celtic's
won.
away form is a concern at this point in time, isn't it?
And just that kind of ability to raise it, young boys are coming soon. It's the most important game of the season. We built up that game in the pre-match broadcast. Has to be better, Ryan. And, whatever tonight, you have to say, right, put it to bed. You want the Dundee United game to bed, you want to put the Rangers game to bed. What's happened again tonight?
Dundee's not a happy hunting ground for Celtic at this moment in time, is it? In the past month or so.
Hasn't been before and after the new year.
But discover some good away form.
In the city of discovery, they discovered that they're not very good, sadly. Or they've drawn both games. But yeah, I mean, I still say I love what Luke McCowan brought to the party. For as long as he was on the pitch, and
he faded in the second half, but it was that sort of game in which the pendulum swung and the home side get back in the game. But I thought for the first half especially, I thought he was arguably the best player on the park, and he was making things happen in the middle of the. There maybe if there's a potential, talking point whether you need McGregor and Luke McCowan on the same pitch at the same time. Bernardo didn't have the greatest game either. But the two of them, they're very similar. I know sometimes you can have too much of a good thing, but maybe they're too similar in that team. But it is positive. He got a good header. I actually thought it was, weirdly enough, I've seen that goal in the first half. It looked so much like Aiza Maeda sort of goal, helped by his dyed blonde hair, which was back. It made a special appearance. But and the other positive, apart from the penalty, being Yang's first goal of the season, a player that it certainly divides opinion amongst the Celtic support and those who cover Celtic. But one thing that cannot be taken from him is he works so hard, and Brendan Rodgers was quick to say that as well in his press conference. It's a good hit from Yang. It's a from Kyogo. It deflects off the Dundee defender and it goes into Yang's spot. At that goal, at 2-1, Celtic should be going on and pushing on and winning, you would think, but that wasn't necessarily the case. But a good moment for Yang and one that he can use. That's
what the manager said, that he expected the team to push on from there, and it didn't happen. It was Dundee that pushed on from there, funnily enough. But yeah, great moment for Yang. Persistence, perseverance, call it what you like, but he's actually got up well to head that home and anticipated the ball. He's not the smallest winger in the world, he is taller, considering. Yeah, but I mean, it's a decent, tidy finish, and I just hope, in terms of confidence levels, it does something for him. But I'm still not seeing any end product, right? And the manager mentioned a lot of things about him, that he's perseverance and he works hard and he tries hard and effort and industry. Wasn't he saying too much about his actual ability and the end product? So
It's very akin to players that have been there in the past, the likes of, I'm not going to even mention any names, but he's used this sort of rhetoric for players before. Listen, he is a placeholder at this moment in time, even though he's working hard. I would say he's a placeholder in the team until Kuhn's fully fit and Daizen Maida's fully fit. Then he'll probably make it to the bench, might even get a loan deal out at the end of the month. But from right now, one thing that cannot be taken away is his attitude to the game, and he's never say die attitude. And his tempo that he brings to not just attacking but defensively as well. He divides opinion, but he was one of Celtic's better players on the night.
I'm not questioning that, Ryan, in any shape or form, but I think that's a prerequisite for any Celtic player, to give you endeavour and work hard and effort. And yep, pleased for Yang that he got. I just hope he can kick on. I now want. I mean, an astonishing statistic, Ryan. That's only his second goal in 49 appearances for Celtic. So that tells you
He's not a volume winger, is he, at all?
And I don't know how many assists he has.
4.
There you go. So 2 goals, 4 assists in 49 appearances, Ryan. That they kind of tell you their own story. And I'm not questioning his work rate, his commitment, his passion, and all of that. But for a wide player, as I say, I speak for myself on these things, and he does divide opinion. I want more. I need more. I'm sorry. I need more, and this is observations. It's not criticism of Yang per se, but the manager's seen the same things, because he's mentioning that he's working hard and the effort's great and all that. He's not mentioning his end product or ability, and he's a lovely guy. I'm sure he is a lovely guy. You know what I mean?
All the players were happy for him.
They were chuffed for him, and I say, I just hope that somehow that gives him a wee spring in his step when he puffs out the chest, and if he gets more opportunities, then he becomes, because he can beat a man lovely, but it's what he does after that's the great riddle for me, Ryan.
For me, I would quite like, and he's got to do this by continually performing on the pitch, whether he gets loads of games between now and the end of the season, now that Kuhn seems to be back. You've got big in the Scottish Cup and the Champions League respectively. I would love to see just naturally the tone change about Yang, because it feels like, Yang's done well there, it's so good for him. It's almost a sort of, I don't want to say work experience, but you know what I mean. Like, people almost feel sorry for him, and then they're delighted when he scores. I want it to be expected that he does that as a Celtic winger, and not be surprised that he gets on the end of a shot, or if he makes an assist. You want him to bring about that volume, and the only way he can do that is by continually playing football matches, which might not be the case.
You said the word there. It's almost surprise that he's done something right, isn't it? Or he's contributed, or made a valid contribution.
Tangible.
Yeah, something tangible that you can actually measure in the goals and assists chart. For all those appearances, it's quite a scant return, isn't it? Mm-hmm. For somebody who, you signed and you thought, okay, let's see what you've got. But fair play to him, he has persevered, and he's got a wee reward tonight, and I hope he feels good about himself, because he probably should. But again, I get back to it. For me, I still need my wingers to give me more of an end product. If that sounds harsh, then fine, but I also think it's a fair comment.
Yeah. Was tonight a night potentially for Johnny Kenny to come off the bench? Were you surprised that he didn't come off the bench? He was the only recognised striker on the bench, given that Adamida was leading the line. Then Kyogo shifted inside once Adamida came off the park after 60 minutes. Were you surprised that Johnny Kenny, after he made his debut, made that impression at Dingwall? Celtic are chasing. They're looking for 2 goals at the end of the game, and yet he doesn't get any game time. It must be just that the manager didn't feel as if he was ready to come on in that game.
Hindsight's a great thing, but I think everybody was bursting for Johnny Kenny to come on because of the appetite and the application and attitude that he showed in Dingwall, and you wanted to see if that could manifest itself in an end product tonight. It didn't happen for Ida in any shape or form, so there would have been absolutely no harm in bringing on Johnny Kenny, and especially in a game like that, where if the objective is to score a goal, that's the only thing that's going to occupy Johnny Kenny's mind if he comes onto that park and getting in those positions to score a goal. We'll never know, and as I say, it's a great thing. he brought something to the table on Saturday, and I would love to have seen Brendan Rodgers follow that up by giving him some minutes tonight. He'll probably get some minutes against Kilmarnock in the Scottish Cup, I would assume.
He'll start, but I think he'll come off the bench. If he'd have made an impact tonight, if he'd maybe scored a goal, an important goal, then he maybe would have been rewarded on Saturday in the Scottish Cup. But for me, I think he'll be on the bench. Be interesting to see who Celtic do play up front.
Correct.
For me, I think it'll be Kyogo that leads the line, because Kuno will come back on right wing and potentially Daisen Maeda. Yeah, that's what you're hoping for, because that seems to be the best free at this moment in time, although there is still some time in the transfer window to maybe make things happen.
Yeah, and we've mentioned Adam Ida's stats. That's no goals in 12, so that's bordering on concern, isn't it?
People are already concerned, I would say, Tony, to be honest with you. And quite right, because I think people would be concerned, or maybe not as concerned, but if it was a £4 million player, and not to bring, he can't bring in, he can't impact, well, he can impact on his price tag by performances on the pitch. He didn't decide that he was an £8-9 million player. I was just saying that if he was £4 million, I'd be slightly concerned. It's just that's heightened by the fact that, you know, you've brought in a striker, first of all, who doesn't start every game for Celtic. And that's down to Kyogo as well. Kyogo's a really good player. He's been a brilliant player for the past 3-4 years for Celtic. But you're looking for something. You're looking for an impact. And the strikers of yesteryear, and I'm not comparing them to anybody, but that chance that he had in the first half, you'd bet think of former strikers here, Edward, Dembele, Griffiths, Hooper, they would be getting on the end of that. Maybe even Kyogo would have gotten the end of that chance, but then again, he's missed sitters as well, so it doesn't always happen. But it is a concern.
The same rules that apply to Yang apply to Adam Ida. I'm looking for more. I need more from Adam Ida. It's the same way when I was talking about Arne Engels, dipping for him. I want more. He's now producing more, and he's producing something every game. Arne Engels, and he's now looking like the player that we all thought he was and will go on to be, and he'll get better and better and better. And it's great, and that's the future of Celtic bodes well. But I need more from Adam Ida. You know, the odd sign, the odd flick, the odd assist. He's a striker. Strikers are judged on their goal scoring abilities. And as I say, I've only seen that chance in real time from a restricted view at the back of the stand, but I thought it was a cinch and he should have scored.
It was opening up for him. Kyogo puts the ball into him, and inexplicably he doesn't get a touch on it.
Inexplicably, it doesn't end up in the net. I genuinely expected the net to bulge 2-0, and I thought at that moment in time Celtic were going to go on and cruise it. And I think I said at the time, did he get pulled down? That must be a penalty, because there's no other logical explanation why he didn't score. But seemingly he's took his eye off it, and I don't know if he swung or booted it and connected with fresh air. But I need my striker to be better than that, Ryan. I need him to be more clinical than that. So the same rules, as I say, if you're going to apply that to Yang, then the same rules apply to Adam Ida, and especially for the financial outlay. But again, he doesn't decide what that is, and there's a lot of harsher judgments on players who cost a lot more money, but they have to justify that cost. And at this moment in time, Adam Ida is not justifying that cost. I think that's fair comment as well. I think you can't shy away from that fact. And there's a big Celtic supporting jury out on Adam Ida at this minute in time. That's not to say he'll come good, because he's shown in the past that he can score goals, he can lead the line, he can do all sorts of things. But at this moment, he's having one of those droughts in front of goal, and 0 and 12. It's a growing concern.
That is very much so, especially for a striker whose main aim and objective, unless you are a creative striker, you know, like a false nine, like a Roberto Firmino, who is used to bring in wingers, you know, to match them up, to distribute the ball out to your maybe better finishers up front or out wide, such as Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, etc. Ida isn't that sort of player. Ida isn't a creative player. I don't think he's got the best first touch. I don't think he's the greatest passer of the ball. It was a good back heel to Callum McGregor at Dingwall. I don't think that's his game whatsoever. I'd say that's probably more Kyogo's game, even though that's not what we really want to see from Kyogo. I know Brendan Rodgers wants to see that. What can Celtic do to bring him into the game more and give him more chances like that? Because that was the only real big chance that he had. And at Celtic, it's not like 10, 12 years ago where Gary Hooper and Anthony Stokes get 5 or 6 chances clear cut in front of goal. He's only going to get 1 or 2. How does he get more involved in the game?
Ryan, these were the chances he was sticking away last season. These were the ones that turned to gold.
Big moments as well.
Yeah. These were the ones that turned to gold last season. So he hasn't all of a sudden become a poor striker, but he has to help himself at times. In those situations, nothing else matters but putting the ball in the net. You know, as you say, that might be the only chance of the game you get. Make it count. And as I say, hindsight's a great thing, but it's ended up becoming a pivotal moment in the game, because that goes in, it's 2-0, and Celtic at that moment in time, they're cruising. And kind of spoke about it at the time from our vantage point, and we're thinking, hope that doesn't come back to bite them. But at that minute in time, we were thinking they're pretty dominant. It probably won't, but it's turned out to be a crucial miss.
There's that feeling in the back of your head, like you've got to take these chances. And with the Bernardo chance, yes, he hits the bar. Can't really remember too much else of what he did in the game. It was a bit of an ineffective performance. Not the only ineffective performance from a Celtic player, from a Celtic midfielder, but that's another player that maybe you would say, there was your chance today. You've got a chance back in the starting lineup. You've been on the bench. In some games you haven't even came off the bench. You had your chance today, and after 60 minutes you're hooked for a player that's out of form, you would say, in Rio Hatate at this moment in time too. So, you know, there's definitely question marks in a number of players, especially in that midfield that's been heralded all season.
Yeah. Well, there's areas of concern, no doubt, for the manager, and he has to get to work on that. But before we end the broadcast, I have to say, Greg Taylor, well done, 200 appearances for the club, and he marks it with a wonderful cross. And there's nobody who plays that inverted fullback. To quote yourself, he understands the assignment with the inverted fullback role, and he took like a duck to water under Ange, and he's still providing some glorious crosses and moments under Brendan Rodgers. What will be in terms of his contract, come the end of the season or come this month, if he signs a pre-contract with somebody, then that's the player's prerogative to do that. But I'm just going to enjoy Greg Taylor. Hopefully they come to a amicable solution and he stays in, because I think he's still a vital squad player for Celtic. But that's testament to what he can do, and he's did that, and he's been a wonderful servant. And what a pick out for McCowan. Everything is on that cross. McCowan just has to connect.
McCowan doesn't need to do anything apart from direct it.
Get power in the direction, and he did that. It's a wonderful goal. It's a brilliantly crafted goal, and you know, so well done to Greg Taylor. 200 not out. I'm hoping there's many more, but that was the biggest positive I wanted to accentuate from this evening.
Yeah, and bad players don't play 200 games for Celtic. You found out a lot earlier.
No, they don't.
No. And he's been a very, very good player for Celtic. Just look at the trophy cabinet, look at the games, look at the pivotal goals, the pivotal assists that he's made in his Celtic career. You know, obviously filling the boots of Kieran Tierney that left to join Arsenal alongside Ball and goalie, but probably less said about that the better in the way that went.
Wow, there's a name.
Yeah, absolutely. But that just shows you the gap that was in the team at left back when Kieran Tierney left. The fact that they had to bring in 2 players. I believe that Greg Taylor came in on deadline day from Kilmarnock as well, or one of the last days until the transfer window shut. And he's been a great player for Celtic. 200 appearances. He's been a great servant, a trusted player under Neil Lennon, Ange Postecoglou, now Brendan Rodgers. And whatever he does in the next 6 months, whether he goes to a new club in January or the summer, he's been a terrific player for Celtic, and a great buy as well, in value for money, given the appearances. Reliable, a good egg both on and off the pitch, and yeah, he deserves the accolade of having played 200 games for Celtic.
He does indeed, and echo all of that sentiment and more. And yeah, it's just biggest disappointment is we've not been able to talk about a win tonight, Ryan. But we've enjoyed.
And we're not talking about a defeat, Tony.
We're not talking about a defeat, but we've enjoyed the new vantage point in Dens Park, which we hope that we can continue at other grounds. Hope you've enjoyed it too.
Yep, let us know in the comments if you like this sort of video. We hope that you do. I think it looks a lot more high quality if you can actually see the pitch as well. Hopefully there's not as much glare in the background as what there was before the game. We'll work on that. You're at the mercy of background noise, lighting as well. Yeah, we're new to this in terms of doing it outside or just on the in the stadium basically. So keep with us and we'll try and make it as good as we can. A quick shout out that we've got a special £1 for 6 months offer on the Celtic Way website. If you're looking for instant analysis from Tony, player ratings from myself, we've also got Q&As from players and the manager, Brendan Rodgers, player tomorrow at 10:30, and the manager that should be out just now. I think it was getting socialed a few minutes ago. Plus we've got all the reaction, the fallout from tonight's game available on the website. All you need to do is go to www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. I can begin to see some of the lights coming off, so I think we've timed this perfectly, Tony. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Thank you guys, every single one of you, for joining us on the pre and post match shows. We really do appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. with the morning briefing. Until then, guys, have a very good evening, and have a good night.